And we're live. I tried to smile when we went into the live stream because every single time, every single thumbnail, as soon as we're done broadcasting, every single thumbnail, I'm making this weird face. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there.
I didn't smile because you're like, don't make a funny face. I was like,
all right. So, hey, everybody, welcome to Shift the Journey. We're on episode 8. Can you believe that? Man, it's been 2 months of doing these things.
that's killer.
Yeah. So, tonight we have a special guest who is a return guest, the very first return guest that we've had. We're going to have some more on down the line because there's some people who are like, yeah, I forgot to talk about this. Hey, let's talk about it again. So, anyways, this is Shift the Journey. This is a passion of mine where I get to interview all these amazing, special people who do all kinds of different things in their jobs. And they started out, each of my guests started out doing something in some kind of career and then transitioned to some other kind of career or some other kind of function in the same company, whatever it is. A lot of times, it's a journey to get there. It's not just one decision or two decisions. A lot of times it's like walking out steps of trying to get from one thing to another. And so I just wanted to do this to remind everybody, anybody out there who is wanting to make a shift in your career, that it's not impossible. While we can't provide you the blueprint, we can show you that it is not impossible. So, once again, back to our guest. Our guest here is Treyson Marks. He is OG Alteryx ACE. They just announced the new ACEs this week. I thought that was cool. Yeah, cool. I followed a couple of them already before they announced it, and I was like, hey.
Yeah,
go ahead,
it's
man.
cool. It's exciting. Yeah. It really is. This new class, they're doing it differently this year. Normally we wait till Inspire and announce it there, but they've been posting one at a time for like the past 4 days. So it's been cool to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to watch that. So last time we talked, you were talking about your journey, and I think we left off in like 2017 or 2018. And
when I was getting into consulting.
Yeah, huh?
When I was like starting consulting, probably.
Yeah. So I actually want, because something you did here recently, I think it's something to talk about, but but I don't want people to miss out on the journey that you had from like 2017, 2018 until like before this new thing. So if you can like put it in a nutshell, just maybe like 2 or 3 steps. Like what were you trying to do? What led you to what you're doing now, that you could talk about what you're doing now?
Yeah. So 2017, I got into consulting. Really, wanted to do more of like just to be all over the place, like to understand, to do a lot of like getting into new things, seeing new environments, talking to new people. This is what consulting is, right? Just being able to be dropped somewhere in like special ops and let go, and then, do my thing and then come back. And, and that's what I found myself doing a lot of, I think I've been hold on. Sorry. Now I have to go look at LinkedIn. I think I've been like 6 or 7 companies since 2017. Hold on. But essentially all of that has been, let's see. Yep. Hard Hanks, First American, Pro Karma, Data Meeting, Seek here. Yeah, this is my 6th thing. Okay, so sorry, I had to go back and actually count through that. I've been making a lot. What I've been doing is I've had people that are critical of this, but also I think it's really worked for me, and I think a lot of people are starting to do it. I have moved when I don't want to say when I outgrow the organization, but like when generally what happens is I get stuck at a client or stuck at a very specific like function. And or actually probably, let me think about that. Sorry, those are my later things. I got stuck in a function, but a lot of organizations I'll be at, they'll like get acquired, or Well, let's even start at the beginning. Sorry, you told me to make this short, so I'm trying to make
Yeah.
it short. It's not going to be. So first consulting group I was in, they were acquired, and then everything kind of changed. So I left that, and my son was being born, so I left that to go work from somewhere where I wasn't traveling, work from home for a year and a half. Offered a really great consulting thing out of the Pacific Northwest, working with guys like Joshua Burkow.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
do.
who's so that was at
Legit.
ProKarma. Did that for like 2.5 years. That was like the longest I've actually ever been anywhere.
Wow.
Did that, and then they were acquired, and they were acquired by like a mega consulting firm called Concentrix, and they're like 250,000
Oh yeah.
employees. I was like, I'm not doing this, and so left that, went to Data Meaning, which is where we met,
Right.
and did that for a while. Things happened. I ended up going to another company called Seek to kind of start a consulting arm over there. And then last year, I was doing some stuff for a friend. A friend called me and he's like, "Hey, he owns this tax business, and he's like, can you help me train up some folks in Alteryx?" I was like, "Yeah, I can come help you do that," because I've known him for a while. I was like, "Yes, this is something I can put some time into." And after like 2 sessions, he was like, "Hey man, do you want to start a business?" And I was like, it's something, as I've gone through all the consulting stuff, it's like, I always knew that somehow end up working for myself. Like that was always kind of in my brain. Just I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
how to make that shift, if you will, because
Right.
there's like a lot of risk involved with it, right? So
Oh yeah.
we over like the preceding probably 3 months, we were just talking about it, like, how's it going to work? What are we going to do? What are clients going to work? And it just sort of all came together. I had a bunch of folks on my side being like, you should do this, kind of like helping me, like, mentor me into how do you move into like the
Yeah.
entrepreneurship thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was, and sort of like, I was like, okay, let's do it. And so we sat down, we did, our operating agreement. So like what he was going to do, what I was going to do. And then just started working on clients, and I'm on this full time now. And I made my announcement. What's today? The 11th, on the 5th. So
Yeah.
I've been officially in this role for a little over a week now. So the first, March 1st was like our quote unquote launch date.
Mm-hmm.
And we launched DCG Analytics, which is an analytics advisory, staff aug, project. We do it all around analytics. So real focus right now is, of course, Alteryx, because that's what I know really well. And
Yeah.
then we want to do Snowflake work, and then Power BI, trying to get into Sigma, doing some Tableau stuff, whatever in the analytics space, whatever the need is, that's what we want to do. So,
Okay. So for people out there who are thinking about consulting but aren't sure like what all it entails,
mhm.
could you tell me some of the things that you do in consulting that you didn't do like working in the industry?
Yeah, well, I would say actually it's very close to what I was doing working in the industry. So I was almost like an internal consultant in all of my analytics positions, where generally what would happen is that I would run out of work to do in a thing, and I'd just go talk to people and be like, what do you need help with? What's like, yeah. And and because analytics is fairly, I'd say, agnostic to organizations, like every group and every organization across every industry needs some analytics help. So
Right.
it's not like I have some very specific like operations focus, and I'm like, oh, I'm out of work, so I can go see what other people are doing. It'd be like, okay, I finished these reports that I was asked to do. And so I would just like walk around at my organization and be like, what are you doing over there? Oh, I see you got that thing in Excel. What's going on? And I would just like try to make their lives easier
Yeah.
in reports.
Oh yeah.
And which is kind of what consulting is, right? Like
Yeah.
trying to figure out the core of the problem and then creating a solution to it.
If you can think of like 2 or 3 pros and cons prefers consulting versus
Mhm.
industry? What would you put out there?
Uh, I'm gonna go with like my first. I don't even know if this is a con. Yeah, I guess I miss, and this is probably bigger than just consulting, but like I miss working from an office. I'm probably one of the few people who actually miss working at an office.
Mm,
I that everything I just said, like where I was like, oh, I could go walk around and I could talk to people and I could figure out what their
yeah,
problems are. And I can get myself like embedded into like I really miss that
yeah,
part of of work. Uh, Pro, um, I get to see a lot of stuff and I get to have a lot of interesting conversations and I get to attack problems that like I didn't or wouldn't in like within an organization. You're like, I have these tools and they are my swim lane, right? Like I have to be
right.
doing things in here. These are the problems I have to tackle.
Mhm.
Where because of this, I get to do I don't know, every platform that's I feel I say every platform. It seems like someone's come at me with like every platform that exists for
Yeah,
like storage of data or ERP or whatever.
yeah, yep,
So yeah, that's fun. Being able to see a lot of different stuff. Talking to new people is great. I very much enjoy that. I enjoy this,
yeah.
like the conversation.
Yeah, if I were to put out like pros and cons, I would definitely say one thing about that I miss is I miss the social aspect
Mhm.
of working in an office.
Yeah.
And so before March of 2020, I was
Mhm.
already hybrid, right? The
Mhm.
the place where I worked was hybrid and we had to be in the office. My team had to be in the office on Mondays and Thursdays. And I knew that one of those days was going to be meetings all day and the other one we're going to have team lunch and it was
Yeah.
going to be fun. And I always look forward to that. But I don't get that now and I
Mhm.
haven't gotten it, since we all went well, when I was still at that company and we all went home for good because of COVID and then went into consulting and was fully remote. So
I,
yeah, definitely.
what was really interesting about that time is I had been fully remote for probably 3 years at that point, and um, what was really really interesting about that was that like as soon as everyone else had to start working remote, like consultants became super valuable because they knew how to work remote, and we had I remember we had more work than we knew what to do with at the time when that
Mm,
all started. So
wow. Yeah.
yeah.
So talking about like entrepreneurship, well, I can't even say it. One thing I've noticed of like my youngest daughter's generation, my youngest daughter is gonna be is she like 24? Yeah.
Mhm.
So her generation is really big on entrepreneurship. I
Yeah.
can't say it. Big on the E word, right? And they maybe there's a shift there where like they're like, oh, I don't want to like work in the corporate world. I want to own my own business. What are some of the things that like you have to think about as far as risk? Because like for me, I'm a dreamer. I can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and how my wife is like a realist. She's like, how are you going to get there? Yeah, man, I don't know. We're just going to go, right? And so, what are some of the risks that if somebody is wanting to own their own business, what are some of the risks they have to think about?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah,
First things like how do you take care of yourself, right? Insurance, making sure that you're able to put food on the table and pay your bills are like the big ones. And
yeah,
for us, without going too deep into it, I was fortunate that he already has some other businesses, so like I could kind of ride that insurance train. But then, um, when it came to like funding, um, we both put down some money, giving ourselves like a runway, saying we have this long to make it work.
yeah,
And then we also looked at like getting funding, and funding was interesting because it'd be like, oh, cool, yeah, we've got like $100,000 for funding to get us however far we need to go. And then when you look at it, like the interest rates, you're like, man, if we took all this out and it took us a year to pay it back, then we'd end up spending like $200,000 to like borrow the money. So it was just like ridiculous. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so those were our two of the big things, of course, operating costs. Then it was like, okay, now how do we source clients? You know, you have to walk a fine line with like places you used to work.
Yeah.
Because you're, especially when you're after like if you leave somewhere, then you have like a year or whatever that you can't solicit business or whatever. And
Mhm.
we're not anywhere near that, but just like, how do we solicit those clients? So we've right now we're trying to do like the viral LinkedIn thing. So I'm just like constantly posting things on LinkedIn and trying to get people
Yeah.
excited about what we're doing, or like, oh, okay, this guy is really like, right now I'm trying to like dig myself into the Alteryx cloud space where there's
Yeah.
which is really new. Alteryx cloud, they released the cloud like a year ago. It feels like a year ago, but it's just taken a long time to get people excited about it. And I think
Yeah.
as they move forward here in the next 3 months, I think they're going to go once the acquisition goes through, then they can put a lot of energy into that. And so I'm just trying to put myself in a position where that could,
Yeah.
I don't know, lead to something eventually. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen some of your video or some of your posts about Alteryx Cloud, and I found that interesting because there's not a lot out there really that people are doing on the cloud. I've seen a few things pop up, but maybe you're an influencer. Maybe you influence them to do it because they're like, "Oh, I want to be like Treyson," right?
I think I actually just read a white paper from Deloitte on influence versus content creation.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be a content creator. So
What's the difference?
generally, I think it's like um, content creators are actually like putting stuff together. Like what I'm doing, it's like, okay, um, I'm going into this tool and I'm talking about it and I'm saying this is what it does, and actually building something that people can like learn from and grow
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Um, or like when they're trying to, my other goal is, again, as the platform shifts and they add things to it and they fix bugs and they like, I can cover all that. So just that there's like this deep, for me, it's like a deep understanding of the platform in X amount of time when people are actually moving to it. So that's my goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so let's see.
Well, we
There's
shifted there. You were asking
yeah.
like things that like, sorry, you had originally asked like things to think about in this entrepreneurial.
Oh yeah, that's right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I think one of the things that's been interesting to watch or to experience for me, right, is moving from like an employee to an entrepreneur. And it's funny, the term entrepreneur these days is not fun because you have a lot of like, especially during COVID, right? Everyone was an entrepreneur and they're doing things on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that, or like drop
Yeah.
shipping and all that stuff. And but that's what it is, right? We're moving into this like space where um I'm having to think a lot differently about how we approach work. We're as a how do I put it? Well, best example. Last year I was in a situation where, you know, I was work was fine for me. Um I was doing a good job, but like the relationship in other places was degrading, and or sorry, not degrading, but like eroding, I would say, between us and the client. And and I remember being like, "Oh no, someone's got to come in and fix this. Like someone from leadership's got to come in and fix it." And I was just like totally
Oh
didn't want to
yeah.
be involved with that at all. Like I was just like, they're gonna do some magic thing and it's all gonna work out or it's gonna be good or whatever. And I just like, I don't want to touch it. I just want to do the work and I want to get out. And but now thinking back on that, I'm like, man, that was like, it's so different as like an owner of something. It's like, okay, you just have to
Right.
go in and solve it. You have to have a conversation and you're all trying to, you know, that you're all trying to get to the same place. It's just as expensive and difficult for somebody to fire you as it is for you to get fired. Nobody wants that to happen because it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So we have to, I don't know, have a conversation about things. And not that I'm averse to having difficult conversations. I just hadn't thought about it. I don't know. It was just weird. I have to think in different terms now.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think about just the difference between being like an individual contributor and being a
Mhm.
supervisor or a manager. Now, I don't have that experience in the civilian world, but I was in the Air Force from 95 to 2015, and for over those 20 years, I want to say 15 of them, 15 or 16 of those years, 15 of those years, I was supervising somebody. There was somebody who was like, I had to steer right and give feedback and all those
Yeah.
things. And if I was just if it was just me and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna handle my own stuff
Yeah.
and I don't care about whatever. But it just for a long time, for the longest time, it just wasn't. It
Yeah.
just wasn't. I always had to think of there's like a totally different way that you have to think about approaching things when you have some kind of power authority, So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. So yeah, I think it's too early. I was going to ask you to like, scale of 1 to 10, but it's too early for that. I think
For
I can
how it's
ask you
going?
that like next year. Yeah.
No, well, already like just the pressure on certain things because it's real now. It's like, oh, I actually own this thing, and I have I owe myself, or I have I I'm my own boss, but I'm also like my partner's also my boss, but I'm also his boss. Like because we're in this together, right? Like so
Mhm.
if one of us fails, we both fail. And so I think
Mm.
just being like, oh, I really do have a duty to him, and he has a duty to me, and just like making sure that uh, everything, we both put our best foot forward is yeah, it's become real. And we're gonna be fine with like, will my bills get paid and stuff like that, but like, what does 6 months from now look like? How do I get to the point where I'm ready to hire? And how do I get to the point where in a year I'm not doing individual contributor work and stuff like that? Like, these are all things that I'm like really now
Yeah.
I've been thinking of, and they've been there. And like, pre-launch, a lot of this stuff was like, yeah, it's good. It's going to work out. We're going to be great. Now that we're like a week in and I don't have like 100 new clients, I'm like, oh, what are we going to do? Probably
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
unrealistic expectations on myself in the situation, but like, that's where my head goes anyway.
Yeah. Man, that's interesting. So you like you're midstream and you're like, okay, well, we already got the train rolling.
Yeah.
That's like maybe it doesn't relate, but being a musician, I
Mm.
remember starting a song and I'm like leading the band and I'm like, I better remember all the words and better remember all the chords. Like it started and I can't just stop it midstream because then people are gonna be really confused. And
Exactly.
so
Well,
so it's like we're committed. No matter what, we're committed.
that that's a fine
Uh,
analogy, Tito. That's like, yeah, we're in it. There's no me going back into the old organization, and not even from like, do I think it could work out? Maybe, but I just it's now I don't know now. It's again, I've only been here for I've been doing this for like 3 months, probably like total, but full time for myself for like 10 days. But I'm like, "Ah, I can't even think about going back to working." I mean, it's gonna be nice. Like if yeah, I don't want to say anything bad, but like,
yeah.
I'm thinking if I was ever like in a situation where the whole thing exploded, um, like I could probably be like, okay, I'll go back because I can't do this or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be fine. I'll be yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier on, we were talking about the Alteryx ACE program.
Mhm.
You said they're doing something a little bit different now. What is it that you had to do to become an ace? And then what are people doing now?
Yeah, so, that's a great question. When I got it in 2017, and, at the time, the platform was a lot smaller. They hadn't even gone public yet, or they were just going public. And so what I had done, and this wasn't everybody's journey, essentially was just like how involved in the community and how out there were you for the community. And at the time I was blogging a lot and I was traveling a lot for Alteryx. Like they would send me to customers and like events and stuff, and I would go out and do all that. And I just kind of like made a name for myself in the community. And then one day, I got a call and like, hey, you want to do this? I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And it was kind of a goal of mine to be like, okay, if I to become actually funny story. 2016, I'm at Inspire. I'm sitting next to Mark Frisch, who's probably better known as Marquee Crew. Yeah. He's I was sitting next to him, and I've told this story before, so he won't be mad that I tell it again. But he was like talking about the ACE program. He had just gotten into the ACE program, and he's like, yeah, I'm in this, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's cool. And I was like, oh, well, so what does it take to become an ACE? And he's like, well, I'm so-and-so involved in the community and stuff. And I was like, cool, I want to do that. And he's like, good luck. But like he was, he had
oh my gosh.
Well, that's what's funny about it. He's like, he's totally not that person.
Yeah.
And I told that story like on stage the next year, and he's like, embarrassed. But I was like,
oh no,
that's not how Mark is. He just said he's he's a good dude. But
I feel like one out of every 5 or 6 solutions that, like, when I was learning how to use Alteryx on the community, I think one out of every 5 or 6 solutions was Marquee Crew.
Yeah.
And he's like the crew macros guy. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he owns those still. He's he's doing, they're all on the marketplace now. I don't know if you've seen how that's shifted for Alteryx, but
yeah.
So him saying like good luck, even though like I didn't know anything about him, I thought maybe he was that kind of guy, and then I was like, screw this guy, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna become an ACE. And so like I just like put it, if for nothing else, just to show him what's up. I just put a ton of energy into all that. And I wasn't actually doing much on the community, big C community at all, like the Alteryx community. I think I only have like maybe 15 solutions. It's not a lot.
I got a few out there.
Yeah. You might have more than I do. But that's how guys like Talis and Marcus and just mutual folks we know, and Fernando. That's like how they learned. They did the same thing. They went on the community and just were answering questions and figuring things out. So
I didn't post it or anything, but I got a badge for 2023 top contributor.
Did you?
So, yeah, I did.
That's cool. I didn't get a badge for 2023. I don't know.
Yeah, there was like 6 months there where I was like getting on early and staying on late so I can answer questions in the community. Just so I was like, I wonder if I could, live in the top 10 here. And so for, I don't know, like 3 months, I think I was in the top 5 at least.
Really?
And this is how I met Calvin Tang, because like we were messaging back and forth. And I was like, who's this Cal Tang guy? And he's always in the top 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
Him and this other dude. And so anyway, when he posted that he was when he was selected as an ACE this year, I was like, heck yes. I was right there with you, except not doing the same amount of things as you.
I need to hold on now. What's your community?
Prometheus.
Oh, it is Prometheus.
Of course.
Actually, I think I remember seeing that and be like, Tito, on a challenge that you beat.
Yeah. Probably.
Prometheus. Is it EUS?
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. I'm now okay. There we are. You're ranked 12, which is Quasar. I think that's what I am too. Whoa, 2023 top contributor badge. There it is. That's cool. I think you have a bunch of badges that I don't have.
Yeah, I was trying to I had a goal. I was like, oh, I'm gonna solve this many. I want to get, this many post like solution likes or whatever it is, and get those badges.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know that there was a 2023 like top contributor. And when
Yeah,
I got
dude.
it, I was like, oh snap.
That's super cool.
I
No, that's
was like,
awesome.
cool.
I've
Yeah.
never I've never seen. I don't know anybody else. Well, I guess if I looked, I haven't talked to any top contributors. So I'm in rare air here. This is cool.
Yeah. So somebody just posted in the chat, Xifeng Xu. Is that how you say
Oh
your
yeah,
name?
sure.
Man,
Yep.
I probably just completely butchered it. I think I've seen you on there too. And pretty sure he's talked about you too. So yeah.
He's an ace as well. I met him
Oh yeah.
at Inspire last year for the first time.
Oh sweet.
Yeah, he's
This
sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, so then I'm pretty sure I've seen your solutions out there, man. Because some of these, I just like looking at some of the solutions, even if like I have my own solution. I want to look at it because I want to see how people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so. I don't know if you know this about. Now we're moving away from the shift thing, but do you know how like both the Zen Master and the ACE program were started? Are you familiar with the Zen Master program? Tableau's
That's
version of the ACE?
Tableau. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a guy, his name's Joe Mako. He's out there still. This was like 2012, 2013, 2014, I think, was just like, he wanted to go learn Tableau. And so in order to do that, he just went to the community and just started answering everybody's questions, all being like, okay. And that's how he started learning. So there was a point when it was like, where he had like 1,000 correct or accepted answers, and like the next person had like 30, something like that. And so they were like, okay, well, we want to recognize you in some way in that. And so they created the Zen Master program, and he was the first Zen Master. And then I think like 2 or 3 years later, Alteryx started the ACE program, and he was the first one there too. So similar situation.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's a wonderful person. I have not talked to him nearly enough. I need to call him later. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Man, you're
I'm trying to figure out
getting
these.
shout outs.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, you were saying we're like shifting away from Shift the Journey.
yeah.
Nah,
Sorry.
I mean, because I would say no, because one, it's my show.
Yeah. Oh,
Two, really, it's part of your journey, right?
yeah,
And I think it's a big part too, because I mean, when we were working together, one of the things that I would tell people all the time is like, yeah, dude, we got 5 aces. You
yeah,
remember that?
yeah,
That was like, people were like, holy cow, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And there were like 40 something in the world, and
yeah,
we had 5 of them, right?
yeah.
And so that's a big deal. To be a brand ambassador for anything is a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, right. It is. I don't mean to dismiss it at all, but it's just we could, if you want, we can spend this whole hour talking about just like diving into like Alteryx things. I just want to make sure we're covering all the things that you want to cover. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I
yeah.
think because this is a continuation of the conversation we had a few weeks ago, or was it 2 weeks ago? I don't even remember. Which one were you on? 6 or 5?
6, I think. 5.
Yeah.
5.
Was it? Anyway, I think that because like years ago I thought, oh man, I want to be an ace. And then I read the ACE program, requirements, and I was like, well, I don't even know if I have that much time, right? I don't know if I have that kind of time. I don't know if I'm that good or whatever. If you were to think about like something that some like bit of encouragement for somebody who's wanting to be
Yeah.
not even an Alteryx ACE, but just like a brand ambassador, whether it's like a Tableau ambassador or Alteryx ACE or whatever all the other ones are. What's something that maybe like a piece of advice or some kind of encouragement that you could give somebody who's thinking about it?
Yeah. So a big part of being an ambassador in some way is just first of all carrying yourself probably in a way that is don't know, morally upstanding. That's not the phrase I'm looking for, but like, you know what I'm going with that. Carry yourself well. And then also just knowing the platform well. Or how do I put this? Just being out there for the platform. So not defending it necessarily, but just, doing your best to try to get people excited about the platform and into it. But then also probably perhaps a little bit of calling out a platform. I feel like I say this a lot. I feel like the ACE program has just become we're like a bunch of grumps because we every time like there's something like new or something that needs to be changed or like something that needs to be fixed, we're just like on it. We're just like, we need to fix this, or like I will say this, a lot of, I don't know, I don't want to give us too much credit, but a lot of the changes have come from conversations we've had with the people that make that happen. So, example, a lot of things that Nicole Johnson's in charge of designer desktop now, and a lot of things that she's implemented in the last 2 years she used to be an ACE. A lot of things that like control containers, like that's from, the community at large has been requesting something like that, but we've been very annoying about it. It's like, when do we get this sort of like orchestration ability within, Alteryx Designer, stuff like that. I know that there's at least 2 or 3 things in the platform that I've gotten pushed through. This is like probably more of a reaction to being a brand ambassador. Like, so this isn't like how do you get into the brand ambassador program. This is like this is how I stay in the brand ambassador program, I guess I would say. But yeah, being very involved with the community. So whether that's if they have a community, answering a lot of questions, but also not being like, this is just my opinion, I don't know if this is, but like not being pushy about it. Because I see a lot of times some people will be on communities and they get really like, I don't weird about like the solutions or the amount of solutions, or, hey, can you make sure that you mark my solution as correct? And like,
oh yeah, I've seen that.
Really leaning that's been the tough thing about defining what an ACE is we had a few years ago, we went through this time when it was like, we're trying to score, like create some scorecard that's like, how do you get points and how do you stay in the program? How do we implement this? And it's just hard to do because then it just relegates everybody back to the community. It's like, how many correct solutions do you get? And you just have to like constantly be posting things, and you're putting a lot of time into it. And if I spend 20 to 30 minutes trying to build out a solution for somebody, like the least that they could do is put a like or like, but well, it's 2 parts. So like, I just said, don't do that. But like, one, it's good for the community. Correct answers are good for a community. If you're on any sort of community and someone answers your question correctly, make sure to select them as correct, because it's good for the community. Because the more correctly answered questions are out there, the easier it is for other users to like jump in and like see like, okay, this question has been answered, here's the solution. That's pretty much how I look at, if I like can't figure out something in Alteryx, I am only looking at solutioned questions. And so it really helps focus others in need if you do that. So yeah, so very involved in the community. Don't be a jerk. External community stuff too. So like, if you wanted if you do like a lot of writing, or Alteryx actually has a I think it's called the Innovator program. And I'm sorry, it has 2 other ones. It has Innovator and another one. I can't remember the name of the other one, but one of them,
Alteryx for Good.
No, yeah, well, they have Alteryx for Good, but that's it's I can't remember what the other program's called, but the Innovator program is like a lot. It's like the intro ACE program, I would say. It's like where people like that are just excited about Alteryx can come in and get opportunities to speak. I mean, there are lots of events happening all the time, so it doesn't need to just be like the ACEs all the time doing that stuff. There are lots of opportunities for other people to get in. I would check out that program. Hold on.
Are you Googling in the middle of the podcast?
I am Googling. I'm because we don't have an assistant to be like, yeah, it's the Innovator program. Actually, can I leave an a message in the chat for?
Do it.
Okay, hold on. If it starts playing loudly because I'm posting. There it is. That's the Innovator Program. So that allows you to. That's a good start. So like getting in there.
Yeah.
They do it. Luis, the guy who runs that, does a pretty good job at like giving people opportunities. And Sparkhead. Sparkhead's another program.
Oh yeah. Jay Garcia. Shout out Jay Garcia.
Yeah, Jay.
He's always on my feed.
Yeah, that dude posts all the time. Posting a lot is a good way to be.
Always traveling. Always traveling, always speaking at universities.
Yeah.
And I actually get a lot of connection requests from people who heard him speak somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you're connected to this guy and you use Alteryx and I want to talk to you. Okay.
Cool.
Let's have a conversation.
That sort of stuff. Again, other ways to be a great brand ambassador. Like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. SparkEd. So what just to note, SparkEd is a program that they have to give, get free licenses in the hands of people wanting to learn Alteryx at the university level. If you have a student ID, it's free, but also like if the university wants to use it, there's licensing available for that for coursework and stuff like that. And then also last year they announced it for military veterans as well. So which I'd be willing to bet is a large part of your following because that's your work.
Oh yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
My dad.
I want to say maybe half of the people that I'm connected to are in data.
Yeah.
And the other half are military, ex-military. Yeah.
My dad's retired military, and I got him a license last year. He actually came with me to Inspire. I don't know if I told you.
That's right. You did. Yeah. You did. Yeah.
He came with me to Inspire and was like, "This is so cool." And so he has his license. We were talking about macros the other day. He's trying to figure our macros out right now, and he got course certified. He's working to get advanced certified. I think he wants to get advanced certified by the end of April, I think was his goal.
Are you going to contract him at DCG Analytics?
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that. I was like, man, there's like no excuse not to, because I can just run over to his house and be like, hey, what's going on? I know where you live. Yeah, I would totally contract my once I have the work. That's my thing is like if I had a ton of work to do, I'd no problems, but I'm not quite to the point where I am drowning in work. So but yeah, it's funny that you say that. But again, that's all through the SparkEd program, right? So like he now he's doing that, and he's going to take it. He works part-time at a hospital now, just to retired people problems, right? Like he's just like trying to find something to do. And so he's working at a hospital, and he talked to his boss about it.
That's something I worry about, like when I actually retire, because retiring for the military, living in this day and age, it's like, bro, my retirement did not cover all my expenses, and also part of it is my fault because I racked up all this debt, and then it's like, oh, I'm retiring and I need some income. So you got to work like everybody else until I'm 60 something, right? But until I retire. But I remember, like, I didn't have a job from like when I left the military to when I started my first job. It was like 6 months, something like that, 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
And oh man, not the first. The whole thing was like, dude, this is terrible. I can't be retired right now. This is awful. I need something to do. Yeah. And so it's like I still have that like need to do something. So when I actually retire, I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna have to do. Is it your kids?
Yeah, kids are knocking on the door. Give me 1 second.
It happened last time. It's okay.
Yeah, I locked the door this time because well, I also don't know what kind of a giant mess is behind me, so I don't want to move.
Yeah. All right. So all right, so let's shift back to like what you're doing. We talked about, like, you talked about the rest of your journey, like going from working in industry to consulting. You talked about like starting your own business, and then
Yeah.
you gave some good tips for people who are trying to figure out maybe if they want to own a business, or maybe they have goals to own a business sometime. And then also, like, you covered everything, because it's like usually I ask people something that's unique that they're involved with, something they're passionate about, and like that was a lot of it. We talked about the ACE program. I think that's a lot of it. But is there anything else that you're involved with, or that you're about to be like working on, that's like new, interesting, exciting, or it's okay that there's not anything else, because what you're doing right now, that's new, interesting, and exciting too.
Yeah, so the new interesting outside of work, the new interesting exciting thing I'm working on is like the cloud stuff, the Alteryx cloud, like learning about that platform,
Yeah.
and building content and just like on it, making videos. Just like earlier today, I'm gonna release this video tomorrow. But I was doing so I did an app builder video last week where I
Oh yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. The
yeah
2 hour one.
yeah the 2 hour one. It's funny. I've gotten like 2 comments of people who were like, "I watched the whole thing," and I was like, "Good for you! Like, way to go! Thank you." Um, for me, like I love long form stuff, so that it works for me. Like I would listen to
Yeah.
that, and it would just be on, or I would leave it. Like when I was cooking, I would leave it on or something, just listening to somebody, and then just looking over when they have problems. My son's sitting against the door. He's got his like back against the door. He's just pounding against. 1 second. I love my children to death, and normally I would let them in, but like we're also working on like being patient because it's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, he has this like glider plane that broke, and
Oh
and it's I mean it's like one of those those styrofoam planes that they
yeah,
break, like what they do.
yeah,
It's one of those, and I'm like I can't fix it, so
yeah.
just wait. But yeah, so I did the app builder thing, and I've got another one where it's like a little bit more focused this time, where I actually took a challenge in app builder and tried to build it. And now what I'm trying to do, real goal of all this is like what I'm finding is that within Alteryx Cloud, sorry, I'm finding this, other people are confirming this. Well, you have to think completely different about the way you build stuff, or you have to,
Really.
as one of the other aces told me, Pat, the way he framed it, he was like, you have to move yourself away from the mindset that Designer Cloud does the same exact thing as Designer Desktop. A lot of that comes from, and I'm going to make a video on this towards the end of the week, because I
Mhm.
have some conversations with that team just to figure out the best way to talk about this stuff. But like, it's just a different, the way that the engine works. And just by being sorry, let me back up. The different, like, so browsers have a limitation on memory, right? So like
Right.
there's a reason why when you build a workflow, it only samples data. And
Right.
so thinking about like this just as a singular example, like how do you um like part of building on desktop is that I can run my entire data set through every time, and I can see what's happening at every
Yes.
single point.
Yeah.
So if I'm building on sample data, how do I think about that, and how do I attack those problems? Because it's um sample data uh doesn't always give the same results, I guess. And it also depends on
Mhm.
how it's sampled. And again, these are things that I'm trying to ask for the team later because I want to understand how sampling works. But um
Man, I'd love for you to do a comparison of like um maybe like logical concepts, like solving for logical concepts using Designer Desktop versus using Designer Cloud.
Yeah.
because I've like tested out the cloud designer cloud, and yeah, it's like totally different because if I look at it like I'm looking at designer desktop, I'm like, man,
Mhm.
this thing's not working like it wants to work
Yeah.
because it's different, right?
You're
Hmm.
so I have done that a little bit in some of the videos. There's one that I did last week. The cloud. Have you seen the cloud quests?
No.
That's the weekly challenge for the cloud.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they started
Okay.
like 6 weeks ago, so they're only on week 3. They're every other week instead of
Okay.
weekly. But what I'm starting to do is I'm doing I'll do a parallel design when I answer that. So it's like, here's how I did it in the cloud. Here's how I do it locally. This is
Yeah.
why this has to be done here. This is why this has to be like, for example, right now the multi-row tool isn't in
Yeah.
there. And so it's like, here's how I would do it in 4 tools with designer desktop. Here's how I have to do it in like 7 tools in the cloud, which again is
Oh.
fine. It's those tools are coming. One of the things I want to be careful of is that as this tool, as development continues to happen on these platforms,
Hmm.
like I don't want to scare anybody away from it now, because in a year it's going to be a lot different. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to be,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to be fair to where it's at, and
Right.
um, like some things won't go away as they change. I don't think there will be some differences because again,
Yeah.
just how the engine works. Um, like there's no NDB tools anymore because depending on what the platform is that you're executing on. So like for example, if you're pulling data from Snowflake, pushing data to Snowflake in a single workflow, everything happens in Snowflake. You don't know
Yeah.
that. It's not an
Yeah.
NDB tool, but it pushes it down.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So and that's like a value of the cloud, right? Is that
Mhm.
um, the platform is built specifically to handle specific sources. Um,
Yeah, so I get it. You have to be yes, you have to be fair as to where it is like right now.
mhm.
And then you can't always like compare it to designer because designer's been around for so long,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then but then like there's the fine line of being just critical enough but not being like so critical that people go, well, I just don't ever want to use it. You want to spark people's interest in using it, right?
Yeah.
Because the more people use it and the more feedback we give, the better it becomes. I
Yeah.
mean, like anything else, right?
Yes. And that has been a big part of. I've been fortunate enough to I've talked to a lot of the people on these teams, and just like, hey, does it do this, or hey, should this be working this way? And it also helps, being able to talk to these people helps me, like, again, not put out the wrong message around something. It's like, okay, this
Yeah.
is, or like, I don't know, it helps me once I've discussed, like, okay, it works this way because XYZ. Also, this is what it opens up. What
Yeah.
we're not seeing, like, okay, you're sure this affects the way you do things now, but once you've kind of figured that out, it's going to make you so much better in here. Like App Builder. So I'm doing stuff in App Builder right now, and that's a completely different world, from how we used to build apps, and in Alteryx, and but it's a completely different way of thinking about things. Like,
Man, I gotta I
like the way
gotta
we
check
build
that
apps now.
out.
You do. Sorry.
I said I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I had, yeah. Watch the 2 hour, but I'll have a shorter one coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. You're welcome. But and
Yeah.
this one, I think I now have the value of experience on this second one too, because I really get to think. So the way it works, essentially, I'll be quick. There's 3 layers to it. There's the orchestration layer, which is like the how does the user interact, or not, how does the how do I explain this? Uh how how does the platform know what to do with what it's got? So you can either bring data in directly on the orchestration layer, or you can leverage a Designer Cloud workflow. Which, if that exists, I call that like the engine layer. So that's like a step down. So you have to build something in Designer, and then you have to build it specifically with the thought of how the app builder tools work. And then above the orchestration layer, there's a viz layer. And that's where you actually make the viz happen. And my video tomorrow is going to show a lot more of that. The first video really goes through my struggle of like trying to figure it out from nothing, having never seen it before, which is why it took 2 hours and a lot of questions. And luckily some of the people on that team watched it, and I've already gotten feedback on a few things like this shouldn't work this way. We're going to fix that. This shouldn't work this way. We're going to fix that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been cool. It's been great. Again, just like the ability to have access to those people has been a real blessing for me. And I think these are the outcomes of being in a community program like the ACEs, where it's just been like some of the people I've been
behind the scenes stuff. Man, that's so cool.
And I've been working with some of them for like 5-6 years, and those are still around. But also like Nicole, I've been working with I've known for almost 8 years, and she wasn't with Alteryx, but now she's with Alteryx. And so I'm just like, why don't I have this? And then she's like, I'm done. Big baby. And I'm like, I am a big baby. Give me what I want.
It's funny.
And we try not to do that. I really try to think about the person too, because it's like they have, I try not to oversell my own value either too, because it's like I'm just Treyson and I see these things and this is what I know, and I talk to some community people and this is what we're all saying, but I'm not someone that is answering to a board or or the street or whatever. So
word on the street is that Treyson is the man.
What street are you on? You must be streets behind. Did you ever watch the show Community?
No.
There's a character in there who tries to make it popular to say, "Oh yeah, that's streets ahead," like instead of like light years ahead. He's if you have to ask about it, then you're streets behind.
Oh, that's funny.
I try to throw that reference in, and it's very rarely picked up on.
No, I just laugh because you're funny.
Oh, thanks.
But man, listen, we gotta end the conversation, sadly. But listen, we can talk in the studio after I end the stream.
Cool.
But I just want to thank you again for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Or number 2, I don't know, man, if you want to look at July or August, we can talk again.
After I've been doing this for a while, and I'm pulled all my hair out,
you could tell more about entrepreneurship, and I can learn how to say that stupid word. Oh my gosh, English is my first language, and I still can't say it. Holy moly! Anyway,
it's the PR, it's the preneurship after the entre.
It's like February. I think I was in high school when I started saying. I knew there were 2 R's in it, but I used to say February. But I mean, some of the pronunciation of my words, like growing up, were because I'm son of immigrants, and I learned English from them. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So I just I just want to thank you, and then tell everybody that we got a guest next week. He was my old command chief, Chief Staten, retired Chief Staten. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I'm going to call him Chief or Dave. He signs off Dave, and I'm like, bro, I don't think I can call you that, but okay, we're going to do our best. But anyway, thanks again, Treyson. I'm going to kill the stream. All right, everybody, have a good week, and we'll see you next week.